Welcome to Echoes of the Unknown, the podcast where we'll be exploring some of the world's most fascinating unsolved mysteries. I'm Jack Montgomery, and today we're digging into one of the most bizarre, tangled, and controversial unsolved murders in Canadian and Bahamian history. This is the story of a wealthy gold baron, a tropical paradise, a botched investigation, and a murder so mysterious it drew in British royalty. The 1943 murder of Sir Harry Oakes remains one of the most baffling unsolved cases, stretching from the goldfields of Ontario, Canada, to the tropical shores of Nassau, Bahamas. The story centers on a self-made millionaire who transformed himself from a medical student into one of the British Empire's wealthiest and most influential figures through his relentless pursuit of gold. Sir Harry Oakes was no ordinary millionaire. Before he became fabulously rich, he was a prospector and a risk-taker. Born in 1874 in Sangerville, Maine, Harry Oakes trained as a doctor but found himself drawn instead to the goldfields. He chased fortune around the world, from California to Alaska to Australia, and finally struck it big in northern Ontario. Oakes's pivotal moment came in 1911 with his discovery of the Lakeshore Gold Mine in Kirkland Lake, Ontario. This single find became one of the world's largest and most profitable gold mines, catapulting him into extraordinary wealth. By the 1930s, Oakes was a multimillionaire. Despite his incredible fortune, or perhaps because of it, he had a complex personality. He gave generously to charities, but was known for his temper, unpredictability, and reclusive ways. After building and residing between 1928 and 1935 in Niagara Falls, Ontario, at his grand estate of Oak Hall, a 37-room mansion situated on 10 acres of land, Oakes relocated his family to Nassau, in the Bahamas. He wanted to escape what he felt were prohibitive Canadian taxes on his gold mine profits. He brought his vast wealth with him, transforming the sleepy colonial outpost into a glittering, sophisticated financial center. He immediately became the richest man in the Bahamas, and perhaps its most influential figure. Oakes became a British subject, since the Bahamas was a British colony at the time. His philanthropic work in Nassau, such as building hospitals and funding infrastructure projects, contributed significantly to the decision by King George VI to grant him a hereditary knighthood. He was created Sir Harry Oakes, 1st Baronet of Nassau, on July 27, 1939. Sadly, just a few years later, the tropical paradise that was Sir Harry's new home would become the scene of his gruesome demise. In the early morning hours of July 8, 1943, Sir Harry was found dead in his bedroom at his mansion in Nassau. It was a truly horrific crime scene. His body was lying in bed, badly burned. His skull had been crushed with a blunt object, and gasoline had been poured over him and set alight. But though the room had scorch marks, the fire hadn't spread. The sheets were partially singed, and odd feather patterns marked the bed, likely from a pillow used to spread the flames. There were signs of a struggle, but no forced entry. Nassau, Bahamas, wasn't exactly known at the time for its crack police force, so the colonial governor stepped in. But here's where things get especially strange. The governor wasn't just any official, he was the Duke of Windsor. Yes, the former King Edward VIII, who had abdicated the British throne to marry American socialite Wallis Simpson. The governor decided that the local police couldn't handle the high-profile case, so he did something unprecedented. He brought in 2 detectives from Miami, Captain Melchin and Captain Barker of the Miami Police Department. This controversial choice would later prove catastrophic for the investigation. These American detectives weren't deputized. They weren't working under British law, and yet they were given full access to the crime scene. Some would say they contaminated it. Others even say they fabricated evidence. Their presence would soon ignite a scandal that rocked both the Bahamas and the British Empire. Almost immediately, the Miami detectives focused their attention on Alfred de Marigny, Sir Harry's 32-year-old son-in-law. De Marigny was a French Mauritian aristocrat who enjoyed a playboy lifestyle and had a reputation for living lavishly. He had recently married Sir Harry's daughter, Nancy, against her father's wishes. Sir Harry had made it crystal clear he didn't trust Alfred. Just days after the murder, de Marigny was arrested and charged. The main piece of evidence used to justify his arrest was a single partial fingerprint allegedly found on a Chinese lacquer screen near the bed. But from the very beginning, things didn't add up. First of all, de Marigny had an alibi. He claimed he was asleep at home that night. Second, there were serious doubts about the fingerprint. It had been lifted with outdated methods, using a lampblack and fingerprint powder technique that left no photographic record. Even more troubling, Bahamian police had initially examined the crime scene and did not find the print. The two Miami detectives found it several days later, under suspicious circumstances. The fingerprint was in a very odd location, far from where anyone would naturally place their hand. De Marigny's defense team argued that the print had been lifted from an object he had handled earlier and then planted by someone at the scene. When the trial began, the prosecution's case quickly fell apart. The detectives from Miami were accused of mishandling, if not outright falsifying evidence. It was a major humiliation for the Duke of Windsor, who had personally backed their involvement. In the end, de Marigny was acquitted of murder, but that didn't mean he was free. Despite the not guilty verdict, he was declared an undesirable alien and deported from the Bahamas. He would spend the rest of his life trying to clear his name, and even wrote a book titled A Conspiracy of Crowns. So, who killed Sir Harry Oakes? To this day, no one knows. But there are multiple theories, and none of them are clear-cut. Despite his acquittal, some still believe Alfred de Marigny may have killed his father-in-law, either for money or revenge. It's true that Sir Harry had threatened to cut his daughter out of his will, but the physical evidence was flimsy at best, and de Marigny's alleged motive remains purely speculative. Another theory suggests that Sir Harry had gotten entangled with the American mafia. During World War II, the Bahamas had become a hotspot for offshore banking and shady investments. Some speculate that he may have threatened to expose or block underworld financial interests, and paid the ultimate price. A more politically charged theory suggests Sir Harry discovered compromising information about the Duke of Windsor, who was already under surveillance by British intelligence for his suspected Nazi sympathies. The rushed, shoddy investigation and unusual involvement of American detectives could indicate a potential cover-up of sensitive political matters that would have embarrassed the Duke or his associates. One thing is certain: the decision to bypass local Nassau police and bring in outsiders from Miami remains one of the most controversial moves in colonial legal history. Others suspect a more mundane possibility: a robbery gone wrong. After all, Sir Harry's vast wealth was well known, and though the mansion had security, someone with inside access, a servant or close associate, could have committed the crime. The bizarre staging of the fire might have been an attempt to mislead investigators, but that seems unlikely considering that nothing was stolen, and the level of violence suggested someone with a deep personal grudge against him. The case's impact rippled far beyond the Bahamas. De Marigny died in 1998 in Texas, maintaining his innocence until the very end. The Duke of Windsor completed his term as governor, but never escaped the shadow of the controversial investigation. He returned to a quiet life in exile with Wallis Simpson, but the case remained a dark stain on his legacy. Sir Harry himself is buried in Niagara Falls, Ontario. Although a modest stone marks his resting place, the mystery surrounding his violent end remains very much alive. This baffling murder transcends a simple unsolved crime. It's a complex narrative about power, colonial politics, and justice denied. The case continues to captivate, raising questions about wealth, influence, and the dark undercurrents that can exist beneath seemingly pristine surfaces. The mystery of who killed Sir Harry Oakes and why remains as compelling today as it was in 1943, a testament to the enduring nature of this colonial-era crime. Thank you for listening to today's episode of Echoes of the Unknown. If you found this story compelling, please don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share with fellow mystery lovers. Until next time, stay safe, stay curious, and remember, every trail, no matter how cold, begins with a single clue.